Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Folks, welcome to our Tuesday show. Seth Udinsky, Samuel Case, and your host, Mark Manila. Mark, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning on this historic week.
Pretty exciting. Why is it historic, Mark? Can you remind our listeners what's going on this week?
A lot of people don't realize it, but this is really the start of the space age. This week, SpaceX is going its IPO this Friday. Actually, a lot of people have been asking about that, and they're asking me. And I haven't really said much about this, but they're asking me, am I going to buy into it? The real question should be, is it clean though? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mark. And hopefully we're going to be able to get a little more clarity on that later on in the show. Folks, we're trying to get one of our friends from Evaluator Services on the show today, so we'll let you know if we're able to do that. But yeah, Mark, I think that's the big question for our listeners is, can we, in a right mind and a right conscience, invest in this IPO if we wanted to? Is it clean? So we're going to find that out.
And, there's got to be a lot of prudence and a lot of wisdom in any moves we make. Let's say that Gary, who's the president of Evaluator Services, comes on today and says it's clean, okay? What does that mean to our listeners? Should they buy it? Does it make sense to buy it? Those kind of things. I think we ought to talk about that a little later in the show. So we can talk about, if you do buy it, what you need to be looking out for. How do you measure this? What do you do? There's some serious risk in buying an IPO, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit later.
What are your reasons for buying it? Are you hoping to get rich, or are you just buying it because you kind of want to be part of the future and the fun of it all? Yeah.
Yes. I think the answer is yes to both, though.
To both, yeah. Hopefully you're part of the fun and you're making money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's nothing better than having a great time and making money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Usually those two things go together, right?
Not necessarily.
Usually, not necessarily.
Well, folks, listen, if you got questions about it, we'd love to help you out. Phone number is 610-363-1110. Again, 610-363-1110. We'll also hear from Matt Armstrong, Crossroads Kids Club, a little later on in the show. Great to hear from them, especially at the end of the school year. But guys, first and foremost, why don't we dig into the energy space and see where we're really at as it pertains to energy. Sam, let's start here. Looks like gas prices are ticking down now for the fourth straight week. I love to see it. I know a lot of people, I don't know anyone out there who wants to have higher gas prices, but God bless you if you do. You've been enjoying these last couple months.
We might want to have a psychological analysis about that.
Oh, I don't know. There's some that just grin every time.
A little morbid part of me that's like, how high can it actually go?
Right.
I didn't really want it to. It was more of a morbid curiosity. But yeah, it is actually falling. It's still about $1 higher than it was a year ago, so still a little painful, but it has been falling for 4 weeks in a row, dropping about 18 cents over the past week. Now it's about $4.09 a gallon. I think it was $4.16 a gallon this morning. So it is coming down, but still a pretty dang high. Gas Buddy did that analysis, and they said, quote, average gasoline prices declined in virtually every state over the last week as oil prices continue to fall, with crude approaching $90 per barrel and refiners ramping up output following seasonal maintenance. So that is a good sign for sure.
A good sign that that it's coming down here in St. Louis. I filled up yesterday, and it was below $4 a gallon.
That's pretty nice.
That's good. Yeah, I really liked it when it was down below 2. I don't know if you two were even alive during the time when cars were lined up to get gas. It was
My dad never let me not know that
during
was
the Carter years. I think it was the Carter years. Yeah, when they started price fixing things, and then people had this. Depending on your license plate number, the days you could get gasoline and stuff. It just seems so ridiculous to me, and it seems so like it must have been contrived or made to happen because we have all this oil and gas. So why could there be problems? Trump touts all the time that we are energy independent because of all the oil we produce. We're the number one producer in oil. And you think about that. If we're the number one producer in oil, how could we ever have a gas shortage? Well, because we ship we ship so much overseas. We sell it overseas. Our companies are selling it to the highest bidders, obviously. But that doesn't mean if we had a war or something happen, we wouldn't have the products here. And during those times, there are war acts that allow our government to do things like say, from now on until this war is over, the oil production is for us alone or for us and our allies, things like that, to keep us from ever hitting that situation of running out of gasoline. But I would also like to say that energy independence isn't just carbon-based energy. There's other areas we need to be looking at. We need to get our gas production up. But did you know we only have one refinery in the United States at this point?
I did not know
only
that.
One?
That seems pretty crazy.
One major one or one in general?
I think it's only one major or one refinery to make gasoline out of oil.
Really?
And it relies on imported oil because it was constructed to use I don't want to say a less higher grade, but that's what it is, coming from Canada and other areas. So it only it's made to process the cruder crudes. And
right.
So
not that like the American sweet shale that we have, right?
Right. Because we had so much of this environment stuff that nobody would allow another refinery to be built.
Yeah. Well, actually, Trump's changing that.
There you go.
Because he actually is. I don't know if you heard about this. This was back in March, announcing plans for the first major new oil refinery in nearly 50 years. As you said, Mark, up to this point, they've just been tinkering with the more minor refineries, not even really building them, just upgrading what we had because of all the environmental regulations. Plus, it was a little cheaper. But Trump says no more. We're actually going to start building one, I think, this year, Brownsville, Texas. According to CNBC, that refinery is going to produce about 1.2 billion barrels of, here's the real big thing, American shale oil, and produce 50 billion gallons of fuel and other refined products. So this is actually going to be coming from the American ground. Also, here's another cool thing. We do have a 20-year agreement as part of that already on paper with India, and they're going to buy from that refinery for 20 years now. At the same time, also we have permit applications up about 55% for more people to drill for oil, as well as, what do we have? Oil production up 3% and natural gas production up 4% in the United States. So I like the way this is trending, Mark.
Right.
I do too, and I like what's going on because becoming totally energy independent is very important for political and for the stock market. When we look at this, that means that the government is getting behind reducing regulation, making it easier for those companies that are in the energy lane to make more money, to build, to create infrastructure in the United States, and to do all these wonderful things that will keep us safe from being strangled by some country, I don't know, who might just like mine a shipping lane or something like that. You know,
where would that happen, Mark?
Never happen. Yeah, that might be a good alternative history book you could write.
There you go.
You know, and I think it's a good thing. I went in and did some research because the oil, the gas, the just energy and total industry, the sector that we're looking at is so important that I wanted to see who are the winners here right now. Well, in crude oil, the United States takes the lead in the largest crude oil production. Natural gas, the United States. LNG, the United States. Coal production, China, India, Indonesia. Nuclear power, United States has the most nuclear generating power plants.
That really surprises me.
In the world. Yeah, I thought it was France. France comes in second. But we're behind on building. China is the lead in building new nuclear plants. And they're the lead in a lot of things dealing with it. Battery manufacturing, critical minerals processing, uranium production is Kazakhstan. and uranium enrichment is Russia, then China, then Europe, then the United States. We're in a major rebuild on the nuclear end. So that's really interesting. Once we get there, I think that we will be totally independent. Our grid will be stable and things will move forward.
Yeah. So we're kind of like the carbon kings, but some of these more futuristic technologies we need to catch up with a little bit.
Yeah, wind and solar, we're second place to China.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a lot of it wrapped up, but we got a place to go. And the reason I talk about this from a stock market point of view is the energy sector is very important. We need to be watching that as our government gets behind that, just like it's getting behind space. That's creating a lot of opportunities in the markets. And we want to bring the stocks that are solid, financial issue steel to you.
Every day, kids all across America are coming to school with some kind of hidden pain.
I've seen kids come in who are just so confused about what's right and what's wrong, just having no idea that God loves them. And this just breaks my heart. Crossroads has the opportunity to bring the Word of God right into the public school, to reach children right where they are.
And when we see that happen, we see God changing lives.
We want to see kids not only come to Christ, but pursue a lifelong relationship with Him. And so local churches are uniquely positioned to disciple those children as they become young adults and through their lifespan.
Crossroads comes alongside a church and provides that church with a club structure, curriculum, training, and ongoing coaching for them to run these outreaches in public schools.
If you are burdened for the children of America, consider making a donation to Crossroads Kids Club. For more information, visit reachourschools.com. That's reachourschools.com.
Well, I'm going to give a real quick testimony. I've been a partner for 8 years. I count on FISM analysis for my buys and sells. I don't want to be a financial analyst. That's what I'm a partner for.
And we don't want you to have to be a financial analyst.
The Financial Issues Partnership is the best value out there. The analytics you guys do really give me confidence. So thanks for everything, guys. I pray for the ministry every day.
Go to financialissues.org to get started today.
My baby was like this big, and I saw his heart beating on the screen. I went from, I don't want this baby, to talking to my child on the screen. That sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to Mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Folks, hope you give us a call, 610-363-1110. Today's show brought to you in part, of course, by our friends at Crossroads Kids Club. You can help reach children with the gospel of Jesus Christ by joining us, Crossroads Kids Club. Reachourschools.com is the place to go there. Mark, I was thinking about this with the school year coming to a close. Crossroads on my mind a little bit more as so many of these kids are heading out from the schools. I'm excited for this interview that we have coming up.
That sounds like a country song there, Seth. Crossroads on my mind.
We might need to write a song, Mark. I'll just be driving in my truck thinking, how can we put this to music, me and Mark?
Just put a slide guitar on it, right? That works, or a steel guitar.
There you go. But, what we do have is we have Matt Armstrong, CEO of Crossroads, to help us understand what happens during the summer with Crossroads and the schools, and what does how does Crossroads use the summer to start reaching kids? So, Matt, welcome to the show. We're glad you're with us.
Well, good morning, Mark. It's great to be with you. You guys gave me a great idea, but I'm not much of a songwriter, so I was thinking I bet AI could write a song, country song about that. Yeah. Crossroads at the crossroads.
Matt, shall we split the profits 3 ways, guys, or 4 if Sam wants in on it?
That sounds good.
There you go.
That sounds good. Sounds good. Whatever. Yeah.
Crossroads on my mind.
Mark, summer is a time of really reflection, analyzing what happened, and getting ready for the next year. So what our team is doing right now is we are very actively in search of church partners who will launch brand new clubs this fall. And so we have something like 1,000 prospective churches across the country that we've vetted and we think are qualified leads. And so our team around the country is hosting pastor meetings in small groups and one-on-ones, and we're really just casting this vision of what's possible and getting ready for the fall. We just released a new leader website with the curriculum for the year ahead. So we could talk about that more if you'd like. But yeah, so really getting prepared for the year ahead is what we're doing.
Well, and part of that working on the different projects to help raise up evangelists and disciples of the word. And you have a special training program specifically for that, don't you?
Yeah. I think you're talking about the Joshua Project. So
absolutely.
That's
the Joshua
Project. Part of that just wound down to that was one of the most exciting initiatives I think we've done in many years. And so we just ran a small pilot program of what we're calling the Joshua Project, and it was so successful that we're planning to start rolling it out in a few other regions next year. But the idea with that is that as kids come to the end of their elementary school experience, how do we get them really ready, really strong in their faith, but even more so ready that they could start a student-led ministry when they get into middle school? And so what we've seen, so just to be explicitly clear, Crossroads is focused on elementary kids, kindergarten through 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever the highest grade in that school is. That's very strategic. Not a ton of groups are focused on this age group. Most responsive group to the gospel message are kids 4 to 14. Right now, what a lot of our friends on the student ministry side see is middle school kids come in, and those of you that have been parents, middle school kids can sometimes lack maturity or wisdom. And so when they move to a student-led model, it becomes challenging to work with middle school kids, to say the least. And so what we realized at Crossroads is we could use those last years of elementary school to disciple and teach and challenge these students to be leaders as they go into middle school. So what we've seen is just phenomenal stuff. I mean, kids that have in their elementary school started Bible study in their classroom, that are sharing their faith with peers, handing out copies of the word to others in their schools. And so I was actually blown away that elementary kids can be equipped to reach other elementary kids, and that's what we've been seeing.
Well, it almost, to me, seems like the natural thing because the innocence of children makes them so open to the truth of Jesus. So that seems perfect there for a child to speak the truth,
Yeah. These kids, nobody told them they're not supposed to talk about Jesus in public yet, and so they do, right? And so, like this little girl, Sophia, I just saw her get baptized weekend before last. She just finished up 5th grade, so she came into Crossroads in 2nd grade. Her family is not a church-going family. She didn't really know anything about the gospel or very little about Jesus. Came in a year into it. She decided to trust Jesus, so she was in 3rd grade. She grew in her faith. Used to struggle with anxiety, and Jesus has helped her with that. But now, this 5th grade year, she was part of our Joshua Project. Man, this girl is just on fire for Jesus. And what we saw, God. Just her testimony at the baptism was so laced with scripture, guys. It's just, this girl knows and loves the Lord. And so it's just fun watching the kids. And I think that's a cool thing about Crossroads we don't talk about often, but it's relationship based, week by week, month by month, year by year. And we get to watch these kids come to faith, grow in their faith, and then grow to become leaders.
Wow. Yeah, you think about this world, you hear about war, rumors of wars, you hear about all the ugliness going on with this sexual immorality and dragging everybody into all this darkness, and then there's these little lights that sparkle, and Crossroads is one of those lights that just say, hey, there is joy still in this world. The Holy Spirit is strong in this world still. And for those who know Christ, we get to enjoy those moments of baptism and seeing children come to the Lord, and seeing people realize the truth of the one true God. I mean, this is I don't know how you feel, but I would think that in the morning when you wake up you should wake up and be feeling like, wow, God has let me be part of this thing where I get to just walk in this river of joy and wonder every day to watch these children embrace Jesus. I mean, that's the way I would feel if I were in your ministry.
Yeah. Amen. No, I do. It's very humbling, right? Because the Lord is taking something that was started as a neighborhood ministry, almost 28 years ago, and multiplied it, and thousands of children being involved. And just, it's very humbling when I stop and consider, and then get to see the glimpses of kids like Sophia and so many others. And it's just very, very honoring and humbling. And, I think just what you're saying before the darkness and the rumors of war, our regional coordinator in Northeast Ohio shared recently, there was a high school girl who walked into the cafeteria of her public high school and shot herself, killed herself right there in front of everybody, and which is horrible, of course. But what this coordinator said to me, which is perhaps even tragedy on tragedy, she said, you know what the school district's answer was, is they're going to put metal detectors at the school. And she said, why? So she can shoot herself in the parking lot? It's nothing to do with changing the hearts or bringing the hope, right? And so we know the answer is Jesus, right? The hurt, the pain, the anxiety, the loneliness that kids are facing, right? They need to know Jesus. And we can bring him right into their schools at young age, right? And so if this girl had that opportunity, who knows how her life would have been different.
Right. I don't know how anybody gets through this life or is able to exist in this world without major depression or suicidal tendency without Christ. There's only one hope. His name is Jesus Christ. And he brings us the hope of eternity. He brings us hope of the now, because he sends us his Holy Spirit to give us the strength and to give us the wisdom to navigate this world till Christ returns. It is just a wonderful thing what you're doing. And you know what? This is so important because we teach stewardship here. That's what we're all about. Our main focus is the whole pie of stewardship, which is everything we do once we come to Christ, how we live out the truth of our salvation is what stewardship is. And then we focus in on finances, specifically investing, because a lot of people don't understand the stewardship of the godly stewardship of investments and how that fits in their life. But once they get that, it changes everything. Their mind rewires, and they realize being an owner is participation. And when I participate in something, I'm endorsing it. When I'm endorsing it, I'm either endorsing it to the Lord or elsewhere. Now, all that's a lot saying, but that's just one slice of the pie. Once they get that, then they realize they can shine the light elsewhere by investing with biblical integrity, by reaping what God has decided they should reap. They can now give more to organizations like yours, and giving is just a part of the pie as earning it or as creating it through investing. And that's why we're so glad to partner with you, Matt, is we not only can help our listeners, our watchers, our partners do the best with what God has entrusted them as far as growing it and making it happen, but then we can help them understand there are ministries out there that are shining the light in this world, that are creating an environment of joy and peace in the hearts of little children that can spread everywhere. We are so thankful for that.
Yeah, Mark, I just want to say, adding on to that, thank you to all the Financial Issues partners. Over the last 2 years or so that we've been working together, God has used Financial Issues partners to give gifts large and small, but altogether $192,000, which is reaching well over 300 kids every week by week, year by year, lives being changed. Not only that, but this fall, I didn't tell you guys this offline, but there is a brand new club starting outside of San Antonio because of
Awesome.
somebody who heard about us through financial issues. So you guys spread the word. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, kids in my community need the hope of the gospel. Crossroads knows how to get into the public school. Yeah, well, you could just email me personally, matt.armstrong@crossroadskidsclub.com. If we have a regional coordinator near you, I'll make the connection. I would just love to hear from you. reachOurschools.com is a great site for some basic information if you'd like to make an investment. We are completely donor-funded, faith-based, so we do rely on support of people like you to keep this going.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know your schedule busy. The Joshua Project, getting ready to enter, to do up to 1,000 more churches and schools. This is incredible. We're going to have to talk again next time. I'd really like to bring back the concept, how you work with local churches, but we don't have time today. So thank you, and God bless you for being with us, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, guys.
God bless you.
And I want to just thank again our partners and our listeners and our viewers for caring so much about the gospel that you got behind Matt and Crossroads. You guys are incredible. You guys are what makes the light shine here in America. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
As a member of Samaritan Ministries, your monthly share is a gift that goes directly to a real person in need. While that share takes care of the financial vision and unity to his church. Glorify God with your health care. Send a note this month.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant, and my family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She told me about all the great resources, like they offer free baby clothes, they offer free classes, stuff for her mom. She prayed with me. She told me to ask God to, guide me to my decision. She made it completely like my choice. She offered to get me an ultrasound, and I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat of my son, and I was told, whatever I gotta do, whatever comes my way, I'm just gonna, have this baby. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep on.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Navigating through information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Grateful to have each of you joining us today, folks. 610-363-1110. That's the number to call in. We'd love to hear from you. Mark, let's go to the phones now, shall we? And talk to Al calling in from Florida.
Yeah, let's do that. Good morning, Al. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Doing great, Al.
You know, what's
about you, buddy?
What's up? I'm doing great. I just want to call this little message. Give God the glory message here. Last night, well, with all this talk with SpaceX and everything, you know, up until last night, I was pretty gung ho. Kind of like Sam is, you know. He had mentioned he had mentioned he might even dabble in it, you know.
Just
so I
dip
get
a
all
toe
my
in,
ducks
you know.
Right. I get all my ducks in a row, you know. I sell off a little of my profits, and I put a little more in Charles Schwab from my bank account, and I'm thinking it feels right so far. So God stirred me up last night, and I'm praying about this, and I've been praying about this IPO that's coming out Friday, you know, for the last few days anyway. So last night, you guys opened up the show today with exactly what I ended my conversation with God on last night, which was, I'm serious, if this IPO is not biblically responsible, then what am I doing even thinking about it? Because it's like, oh, well, yeah, I can invest in it. And then if it becomes, you know, we find out it's dirty, oh, well. But I'm thinking, is that really the right way for me to do this? So, and that was one of the determining factors why I think maybe holding off might be a good idea. But one thing I did do, and I heard, Mark, you had mentioned, you go to AI at times and get some information that you might need. And that's what I did last night with Elon Musk's Grok. And I asked the question. My first question was, what is the ticker number, the ticker, and it was SPCX. And then I said, do you think it's worth investing in? Now, this is the AI's answer I'm going to read. And they said, now, keep in mind, I'm praying about this in the past few days. Now, I believe
not to Grok, though. You're not praying to Grok, are you?
No. I'm going to make that very clear. And I won't go to AI to find out if something is biblically responsible. That's what I pay you guys for, okay, right?
Okay. Good.
So anyway, I do like all the information they can gather up in 1 minute compared to me doing 2 or 3 hours worth of research. That's a big benefit.
It does really good at research.
Right. So it says the answer to, do you think it's worth investing in? And the answer was, not at this price. They're pricing all around $135 a share for $1.77 trillion valuation, but the company's only doing about $19 billion in revenue last year and is losing billions, mostly from heavy spending on Starship and AI. Starlink's the real moneymaker and growing fast, but experts like Morningstar think it's worth closer to $780 billion, and even the Dean of Valuation says it's overpriced by $500 billion. I could pop it on day one, but long term, you're paying a crazy multiple for future promises. I'd wait for a pullback if you're interested. So my next question was, who is the Dean of Valuation? That's Ashwath Damodaran, an NYU finance professor famous for his valuation work. He's the guy who just said SpaceX is worth about $1.3 trillion, not the $1.75 million they're asking. Now, I just did the Ashwath because I got curious. But my point is, I'm praying about this, and I read this, and I'm thinking, you know, they know a lot more, and it goes right along with what you've been saying for the last week. I mean, you've said a lot about a lot of the same things. So it's like, it's kind of like, if God can speak through a donkey in the Bible, I think he might be able to use AI to get his point across,
Well said, Al. Wow.
I like that, Al. And, I think you bring up a lot of great things. First of all, the IPO, we don't know where it's going to go. But one of the things I often challenge other analysts and people about is they'll give me their input, just like this dean of whatever, this dean analyst that you're talking about. They give their opinion, but then I'll look at them and I'll say, but do you own it? Will you buy it? Would you recommend it to your grandma, or your grandson, or your son or daughter? And then that changes the whole conversation. And I just wanted to bring that up because I've been having this conversation with my children. I've been having this conversation with my wife, with other people. And it's very important to realize that unless you're a very wealthy, this is a high volatility stock. You're not going to get in at 153 or whatever the IPO price is unless you just are a very wealthy person and you can get into those reserved shares, those shares that the brokerage companies keep to sell to their big high net wealth giant investors. You're not going to get in that. One of my children was asking me, they're very excited about this and they want to go and buy it right away. I said, well, okay, so what kind of order are you going to put in when it opens up in the market? And he said, well, I'll just do a market order to get it whatever I can as quickly as I can. I said, okay, just remember, if you wanted to buy 100 shares at $153, what that price is, you're now at $15,000, $16,000. If it doubles, you're at $32,000. If it gets crazy because everybody in the world is trying to get in on it, it could go up a tenfold and you're going to end up having $156,000 worth of stock when you were thinking about spending $15. So there's a risk of it skyrocketing and then filling at different levels, higher until it's all filled. Your purchases are filled. So you got to be very careful about that. You got to be very careful that just like many IPOs, this thing could go through the ceiling and then drop like a rock. So if it does go through the ceiling and drop like a rock, it could drop way below the 153, just as many IPOs have done. There's a lot of volatility in this, and it's going to cause a lot of volatility in the markets as well. Also, there's another thing. Yeah, if you're going to buy into it, maybe you could get out or get your initial investment out right away if it doubles or triples and get your money out and then just let it run. But then when it crashes like a rock, are you going to panic? And if you are, then maybe you shouldn't be in it to begin with and wait until it starts showing normal trading in the markets instead of getting in at the IPO. Because there's another thing that's going to happen that's going to cause it to possibly skyrocket. Once it's accepted into the S&P 500 or other indexes, leading indexes, all those funds, ETFs that are index funds will have to buy this stock into their ETFs. And when that happens, it could pressure the price up artificially because they're forced to buy it because they are index funds. So we could see this thing shoot up like a rocket, drop like a stone, and then climb very steadily while it gets in there, and then be sold off by people because it's going nowhere after that. Who knows? But we do know one thing for certain, and that SpaceX is a historic moment. This is the beginning, the true beginning of the space industry. We are seeing companies growing leaps and bounds. I've done research. I've been trying to find space-related companies. They're all overvalued at this time. We may have a space bubble here, a time warp bubble here. So we got to be very, very careful. I want to be part of this. I have been making calls. I've been trying to find out, based on the information we have, is this company clean? I'm going to share with you the responses I got and the responses from Evaluator. Everything they can research so far says this is a biblically responsible organization. That doesn't mean as soon as it comes out that other things with filings and things that come out, that doesn't mean that it'll stay clean because of all the things that you can't see that aren't in the exposure of the IPO documents. It may mean if we buy into it at the IPO, within weeks or months or quarters, we'd have to get out of it because it does not honor God in what it does. I'm not saying it'll go that direction. All I'm saying is it's possible. This is not your typical buy now and hold forever type of stocks at this point, because at this point, they have incredible potential, yet they're losing money. I believe that this is going to be a great company at one point. I don't know if this is a stock for grandma, for a 50-year-old. Maybe it's a Sam stock, and maybe it's for those who just want to get on a historic moment. But you got to be careful. There's a lot of gotcha in this. There's going to be a lot of volatility. But it is exciting and it is fun. Just don't put your hopes in one company. Stay a steward, not a day trader.
My wife and I help lead a Crossroads Kids Club, and one of the girls, she said, Mr. Dave, you keep talking about like you didn't really believe in Jesus and you were like dead or something, and then like you believed in Jesus and then you're like alive, and I want to receive that. And so we like just prayed there in our group to receive Jesus and owning this idea of life with Jesus for the first time.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurSchools.com.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
My baby was like this big, and I saw his heart beating on the screen. I went from, I don't want this baby, to talking to my child on the screen. That sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to Mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Guys, it's really interesting, this IPO conversation. Multiple things can be true in life at the same time, and these things can be seemingly contradictory to each other when really they're not. But I think, guys, Mark, in this particular situation, multiple things can be true when we look at this, IPO for SpaceX that's coming out soon. I think, one, it can be really exciting. And I think also we need to be very careful. And both those things are true. They might seem contradictory, but they're both true. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So I agree. And there are so many people who are excited about this because not only the space, but when you look at what each of these companies inside SpaceX is doing, they're all the leaders in their field, and they're so far ahead of everybody else. Even if they're not being very profitable at this point. They have the possibility of being the most profitable of any company in their field as they develop and bring these things. So we have to take in potential as a very important credibility point for these companies.
Yeah.
Lots of stocks come out and they don't make money for a few years. But we see that that Starlink has been profitable, and it's growing in leaps and bounds, and it's going to be more and more profitable. So that's one. We do see that SpaceX has lost gobs of money, but the research and development of that has been incredible. But they're at a point now to where they're getting government contracts by the billions, not only in the U.S., but possibly elsewhere, launching satellites for people, doing things. They've turned space into a business that once was nothing but a big hole like space that you pour money into. The government's poured money into it just to stay ahead of the rest of the world.
It was a black hole.
Exactly. Now we're seeing a difference there. We're seeing things like X growing substantially, and the profitability of that happening. There's their Grok, is it Grok? Their AI. No, I'm sorry. It's
Grok.
Grok is XAI.
Yep.
XAI.
Yep.
They are getting to a point of possibly being profitable very soon just by consumer uses, not even industrial. And they're a leader in that. They have the largest, I forget what kind of computer it is in the United States for AI at this point. They're leading all across the board. All that to say, it's still not profitable and nobody can predict the future, but it is a very exciting moment. And I would say, if you ever been somewhere and you watched, like maybe a small pond and you threw a big brick into it or a large piece of something, that splash is huge. I think we're going to see that, but it also goes away pretty quick. But then you see ripples that go to every bank and every little tributary of that place, and it affects everything. It erodes away in some places, but it also deposits stuff in others. This is an exciting moment in the market. It's something as believers, as Christians, we can embrace and say, this is exciting. I'm going to be a steward. My hope comes from the Lord. But if this is clean, I'm going to stay and I'm going to participate in it only if I can afford to lose that money. Otherwise, I need to stay away from it. This is not something to put, if I'm living on this money right this moment, and if I lost anything I put into this, it would affect my lifestyle. You should not put money into it. If this is something you got 20, 40 years to retirement, you could get into it if it is clean, if it honors God, and realize that it's going to go up and down, and hopefully it will continue to rise. Of all the businessmen I've ever studied, I'm finding Elon Musk to be one of the better ones because of his dedications to things. There's a lot of positives behind it, but you have to realize it's not made for everyone. It's only made for those who can afford to lose that money and recover, or those who, if they lost it, it wouldn't matter. This is a very risky investment, even if it is exciting. Don't get drawn into the bright lights. Don't be a fly or a bug flying around a light bulb till you land in it and get burned out. Be smart. Be smart with your money. Be wise. Be a steward.
Well said, Mark. 610-363-1110. Guys, we're seeing all green in the places we like to see green on the markets this morning. The Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000 all up handsomely. And oil, Mark, is down. I got a kick out of this headline from CNBC. Talk about fair, unbiased news reporting. CNBC says oil prices fall as Trump tries to convince the market an Iran deal is close despite recent violence. I just hate this guy. My goodness.
You know what's so weird about CNBC is they loved Trump when he was first elected, and then the second he introduced those tariffs, they never forgave him.
Huh? Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. Everything's worded in a negative when it comes to Trump and the current administration. Oh, well.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
We can see through it all, and our hope isn't in Trump. That's the one thing I think a lot of people forget. Our hope is not in our government. Our hope is in the Lord. That's why we can be at a place of peace, even in war, even in inflation, even in other things. Even though everybody's saying it's worse than it really is, we still can be at peace.
Yep. Well said, Mark. Hey, good question here from Patty in our chat, Mark. She's from Indiana. She's saying, I can remember Dan Celia back in the day talking about running out of shares of stock in the market. This was due to a lack of IPOs at the time, and also companies were increasing buybacks. Do these mega company IPOs, like we're seeing here, Mark, coming up the pike, does this challenge that assessment, you think?
Oh, no, I don't think it challenges the assessment. I think what Dan was talking about is if you look back at 1997, in the 90s, I guess I should say, we had 40% more companies than we did, say, in 2010 or 20. We've gained back about 900 more companies, but we have a lot of money chasing the same or fewer stocks than we did 20, 30 years ago. So that's very important to realize. The markets are much higher valued than they were back then, but that's just inflation itself would have done that. But we have a lot more money. Think about this. Prior to 1970 or in the 1960s, let's say, I think it was less than 20-some, maybe 25% of households had monies in the stock market. Then the 70s came and the 80s, and pension plans went to become 401ks, IRAs were introduced, all these different things. Now, over 80% of the households in America are invested in the stock market. That's an incredible amount of new money going in the markets. Then we have things like, the Trump accounts. We have things like all these different retirement plans, all the Roth and all. Almost everybody seems to be in the stock market today that weren't in 50 years ago. So we have more money chasing fewer stocks. So we do have less stocks in the market than we had in the mid-90s. I think there's this number, and it's going to. I might be hallucinating on this, but I think there was around 6,500 stocks in the market back in the 90s, mid-90s, and today we're somewhere around 35, 40,000. Or 4,000, 3,000, 4,000, maybe 4,500. I'd have to go look it back up. This is off the top of my head, so don't trust those numbers, but you can go look them up for yourselves. So think about that. We have more money chasing fewer stocks. So I don't think that puts to our challenges of what Dan was saying. What he was saying is that's why the markets are more volatile. That's why we have to be stronger stewards. That's why we have to have financial steel in the stocks that we own, because the volatility will steal your peace, will distract you from focusing on the Lord, from looking for your hope in Christ. Our goal here is to help you be a great steward over the stock market. Use it to the glory of God. Use it to help you grow deeper, closer, more intimate with the one true God. Use it so that you can have peace that surpasses understanding, even now, even before the return of Christ, even before he calls you home. All that is so very important. Remember, he determines who puts the kings on the throne. He determines what your income can be or can't be. It's not what we do, it's what he does for us. And we have to honor him in all we do, including our investment. So with more volatility, with inflated costs of things have changed. I remember when if the PE was over 10 or 12%, you started looking at it with a little side glance in your eye whether this thing's getting overvalued. Now we have stocks at 65 that we say, for its industry, it's okay to be 65 times it, it just doesn't make any sense. But it does when you look at inflation, if you look at the fewer stocks, when you look at all this kind of things. So it's very exciting. It's very fun, but stay focused on the Lord. Keep that focus on Christ above all things. Be a steward, as we said, not a day trader. Our hope isn't in the markets. It's in the one true God. And if we do that, we'll have that peace. We'll have that joy. And no matter where God takes us, we know he's got the perfect plan for our lives, so we can walk steadily in the great works he's laid down for us to walk in. And then we can spread the news like you do about financial issues, and we appreciate that. It's been a fun show today. I appreciate you being with us. But more than anything else, I appreciate that our listeners, our watchers, our partners love the Lord, as is shown by the way they invest with biblical integrity. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless everyone.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation going under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.